Hello and welcome to Inside Edition, where we discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. Pakistan and Bahrain enjoy close and friendly relations based on mutual trust and understanding that are deeply rooted in their culture and history. Enhanced cooperation in various fields witnesses constant development supported by exerted efforts by both sides' leaderships and officials to take mutual ties to greater heights. This year, the two countries are celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations, along with centuries of friendship and collaboration. To talk more about that, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by His Excellency, the Ambassador of Pakistan to the Kingdom of Bahrain, Mr. Muhammad Ayub. Welcome back. Joining me in the studio right now is His Excellency, the Ambassador of Pakistan to the Kingdom of Bahrain, Mr. Muhammad Ayub. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for coming today. Sir, first of when we talk about the relations about Pakistan and Bahrain share a very, very long-standing and concrete relationship with various historical, cultural, social, religious commonalities. What can you tell us about the history of these relations and what stages of development did they go through?
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Sarah, for having me on the Inside Edition. Before I take your question, let me tell you and the viewers of this program that I arrived in this beautiful country in April this year.
Oh, beautiful.
And I'm relatively new.
Welcome back. Welcome to us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm deeply touched by the warmth and hospitality extended to me by the government and the people of Bahrain at all levels. Yeah. I see remarkable progress in Bahrain in all walks of life. True. Under the sagacious leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and Crown Prince, His Royal Highness and Prime Minister Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa. Handling of the COVID-19 pandemic was exemplary. Yes. And indeed, you know, it is being duly acknowledged and appreciated by the international health organizations. Thank you. Yeah. Since in your interview you have mentioned that Pakistan and Bahrain are celebrating establishment of 50 years of diplomatic relations. I will take this opportunity to congratulate the leadership and the people of both Pakistan and Bahrain on this historic milestone and for their tremendous contributions to strengthening of relations in the past 50 years. Yes. Coming back to your question, yes, of course, Pakistan and Bahrain enjoy strong historic relations. These relations are rooted in history, common faith, shared cultural and ethical values, and strong people-to-people bonds. Of course. Let me put it that way, that these relations go beyond traditional intrastate relations. Our relations are based on mutual solidarity, support, and tremendous friendship. Right, right. Yeah.
When you look at that kind of relationship, can you tell us the stages of how it went through?
Yes. Coming back to the main question, context between our two peoples and lands, they go back to times immemorial. Okay. When their need to contact really stemmed from their need to trade goods through seafaring vessels. Yes. In modern times, relations are progressing steadily and on an upward trajectory. With the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1971, our context became more regular, more frequent. We can recall that in 1974, the then Amir of Kingdom of Bahrain, Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa visited Pakistan. He attended OIC conference, which was held in Lahore in 1974. Beautiful. And then we see that during mid-70s, when the development process really gained momentum in the kingdom, many Pakistani skilled workers
Yeah.
and educated professionals.
Yes.
They started coming here and they took part in the economic development of Bahrain. In 2005, we also see another high-level visit from the kingdom. The then Crown Prince, Prime Minister visited Pakistan, and after that there was no looking back. There was a constant stream of civil and military delegations and exchanges. But if you ask me what's a high point in our bilateral relations, and I say that in 2014, when His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa visited Pakistan, that really provided a very, very strong impetus to our bilateral relations, and it was followed by the visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan in December 2019. And then Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi was here in July last week this year to co-chair the Joint Ministerial Commission meeting with the Foreign Minister of Bahrain. Very recently, on the sidelines of the Green Middle East Initiative, Prime Minister Imran Khan again met with His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa in Saudi Arabia.
To partake in it,
apart from these high-level exchanges, we have strong institutional mechanisms. And the Joint Ministerial Commission is at the apex of institutional arrangements we have for holding regular consultations and meetings. Just in July, we had the second Joint Ministerial Commission meeting. And these relations, you know, they get a lot of strength from a huge Pakistani diaspora in Bahrain.
Specifically.
They are hardworking, loyal people, law-abiding citizen residents of this kingdom. And they consider Bahrain as their home. And in fact, they are quite happy here. They are treated well, with respect, and looked after well.
Absolutely.
So these are the relations, you know, and we have a proud history of past 50 years, and we look forward to taking them to newer heights.
That's amazing. When I listen to you talk, Your Excellency, the fields of relationships and cooperations between Pakistan and Bahrain are vast. You mentioned the military, you mentioned education, labor, all that kind of things. What do you see when it comes to these kind of relationships? We know for a fact that Bahrain and Pakistan, you guys are going to jointly unveil a logo that marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of these diplomatic ties. But the diplomatic ties became stronger because of the social ties between both countries. How important are these for the diplomatic ties to be so strong?
As you mentioned, just last month, the Embassy of Pakistan, in partnership with the Foreign Ministry of Bahrain, launched a logo. This is indeed a momentous occasion, and we really want to celebrate this occasion in a befitting manner. In fact, we have planned several activities. The celebrations will take place both in Bahrain and in Pakistan. The Embassy of Pakistan is in partnership with the government of Bahrain, relevant departments, and we will be working along with the Pakistan community organizations in these celebratory activities. In due course, we will be sharing a complete list of those activities, but of course, you know, we will be celebrating our achievements in the political, economic, social, and cultural spheres.
Amazing. How important is the social aspect, the Pakistani community in Bahrain being part of the infrastructure or the social infrastructure of the kingdom, of the island? How important is the social value when it comes to these relations?
Clearly these relations get a lot of strength. I say that the Pakistani community here They are a very strong bridge, you know,
Yeah.
in linking two peoples, two countries.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, they take Bahrain as their home. They take Bahrain their home, and they are quite happy the way they are treated. They are very well taken care of.
Yeah.
We have seen that during COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
They were looked after very well.
And yes,
Yeah,
true.
and in return, you know, they say that it's their country,
Yes.
you know, and so these relations really get a lot of strength
Right.
and a lot of inspiration.
Absolutely.
From the community to community relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to celebrating, Mr. Ambassador, how do you value the significance of such an anniversary, and what are the, you mentioned some of the plans that you have to celebrate it. There are some cultural events and so on, but how important is it to actually celebrate such an anniversary, a very meaningful anniversary?
Well, you see, it's a milestone.
Yeah.
It's a milestone indeed in our diplomatic relations. But I say, personally, I believe that we are not only celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations,
Yeah.
We are celebrating centuries of fraternal ties and
Absolutely.
bonds. Such celebrations really give us an opportunity to renew our commitment
Right.
to further strengthen these relations in the next 50 years and beyond.
Right.
So here goes the importance and significance of such celebrations.
Yeah. It also gives a meaningful strength to the Pakistani community locally to see how deep these relationship is and partaking in celebrations between both countries. Do you feel that excitement coming up when it comes to the closeness of this celebration, that the Pakistani community really does want to partake in it and so on?
Well, they will be on the front line of arranging these activities. I have got a lot of positive feedback, very positive response, and people are looking forward to their engagement in these activities.
That's amazing. Mr. Ambassador, in recently published statements, Your Excellency said that the Golden Jubilee celebrations will focus on the participation of youth as the future flag bearers of Pakistan-Bahrain relations. What can you tell us about the importance of that?
Sarah, this is a very important question. As I mentioned, we have a proud legacy of strong, cordial, friendly ties. For the continued flourishing of this relationship, it is important that the torch of this friendship is passed on to our new generation.
Yes.
And I seek a greater involvement of youth, both Bahraini and Pakistani, in these celebrations. You know, Pakistan is the fourth largest young population, you know.
Okay.
And I see enormous talent. Likewise, I see enormous talent in Bahraini youth. So, and the core value of youth engagement in these activities is their audience reach, their passion, the depth of their engagement. I can say that the youth can reach to audiences where an active and connected diplomat can't.
Right, right.
So in that respect, I seek greater involvement of young Pakistani, young Bahraini in these celebration activities, and our cultural and sports activities would ensure that they are part of these.
Absolutely, especially in the era of technology, social media, education, education change areas where a lot of different people study in Pakistan and study in Bahrain. There is some kind of an exchange when it comes to that point. That's where the youth really shows. As you said, they touch hearts and they basically talk to people very differently than the diplomats can, because usually diplomats can't reach to that level at that point.
Absolutely right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So keeping on that topic, actually, how do you value the keen interest of Bahrain and Pakistan's leadership equally to bolster the relations between the two countries in so many fields?
Yes. there is no doubt that the leadership of Pakistan and Bahrain are very keen and very committed to bolstering these relationships, to strengthening these friendly ties. And they have given us a vision. Leadership has given us a target, a vision, a goal, and that is to transform this strong bilateral political goodwill and solidarity into a mutually beneficial economic partnership.
Right, right.
So, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the visit of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa in 2014, and then the visit of Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, in 2019, you know, that really provided us a very strong impetus and has set a clear goal for us to follow.
Absolutely, even like with the MOUs that were signed, certain things that were approached from the economic side, the military side, and the educational side. Well, how did the official exchange visit result in further enhancing this Bahraini-Pakistani relations? If you can talk to me in facts and figures.
Yeah, this is a very important question. These official exchanges, frequent visits, you know, they are very crucial in taking bilateral relations further. These visits provide us a chance to review the state of progress in bilateral cooperation in diverse fields. We get an opportunity to see where the impediments are. While we see the progress, we identify the areas where we have not been able to make progress. We identify the reasons. Then we identify the new areas of cooperation. We get an opportunity to revise our agreements and memorandum of understandings. And indeed, you know, when the Foreign Minister of Pakistan came here in July, we signed another important memorandum of understanding that would facilitate two-way investments between Pakistan and Bahrain. So these, in that respect, you know, these exchanges are really, really helpful.
That's really important. How will you go about in easing the procedures of investment in Pakistan or from Pakistan and Bahrain? How are your prospects in the future?
Well, of course, the government of Pakistan has taken a lot of measures to not only to liberalize the economy, but to provide all those enabling environments that the foreign investors feel attraction in investing in Pakistan. And likewise, mashallah, Bahrain is doing pretty well, you know, in terms of attracting foreign investments. We see a lot of talented human capital here. Environments are very friendly for business here.
What would you like to see from Pakistan's investments in Bahrain? Something that you look forward to, whether in the education, the military, or the businesses aspect. What is something that you look forward to seeing in Bahrain?
My goal is to facilitate two-way investments, Bahraini investments in Pakistan and Pakistani investments in Bahrain. I see Bahrain as an ideal gateway to GCC due to its strategic location. Its connectivity, transportation, and then I mentioned educated human capital here, enabling business environments. And Pakistan, and then of course some important free trade agreements as well. Pakistani investors, especially in the textile sector, you know, they can consider Bahrain as their destination. And then I also want to really promote Bahrain as a tourist destination. This is important, as COVID-19 restrictions are being eased out, I would really encourage, you know, the exchange of tourists, businessmen, academia, and investors.
Bahrain has actually really set the bar very high when it comes to how to deal with the pandemic and everything. What can you tell us about the experience of the Pakistani community in Bahrain during those very, very trying times of the pandemic being at its worst?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of look after that was extended to the expatriate communities, including Pakistan. That was remarkable. And I have got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive reaction from our people, the way they were treated during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially during the early phase. They were allowed to stay here. Those who wanted to go back to Pakistan to join their families, their repatriation process was facilitated.
Absolutely.
Some of the prisoners were released as well. Then the local authorities in Bahrain, they coordinated with the Embassy of Pakistan to provide, medical help, food for those in need. Humanitarian assistance was extended generously. And then on top of everything, all 5 vaccines approved by the World Health Organization were made available to all residents alike, free of cost.
And that really did, it really did help as a human capital point of view, helping the whole community globally, but Pakistani community specifically, because of the large number of the community that is in the GCC region, not just in Bahrain. Mr. Ambassador, as part of its goals, the Embassy of Pakistan in Manama launched several initiatives to consolidate the mutual relations. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
As I mentioned, our leadership has set out a vision for us, set out a goal for us. And the job of the embassy is to facilitate the implementation of those goals, right? We are coordinating, facilitating that the memorandum of understandings and agreements, and these are in dozens, with the 2 countries have signed. They are implemented within the stipulated time frame. And in this regard, we are working very closely with the Bahraini Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with other relevant departments, and likewise with all the departments and ministries in Pakistan. That's priority number 1. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the COVID-19 restrictions are now being eased out and life is coming back to normal. We are trying to facilitate exchanges, exchanges of businessmen, exchanges of investors, media, tourists, etc.
When you talk about facilitating these kind of projects for the future, there's a lot of coordination, cooperation between the embassy and local institutions, whether the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or other ministries, in order to execute these projects. How do you value the relationship between the embassy and these local organizations?
These relationships, of course, we operate through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But these relationships with the department, relevant department and ministries are excellent. All government organizations and their officials are accessible anytime.
Easy to access.
And going back to the earlier question regarding the ambassador's initiative, I just wanted to mention that to facilitate the exchanges and to promote people-to-people contacts, visa fee has been reduced. And for Bahraini tourists and visitors, there's a facility of visa on arrival at the ports in Pakistan as well.
Oh, that's amazing. When it comes to modern means of social media, facilitating direct communication with target audience, especially during current health circumstances, how does the embassy make use of social media in this aspect?
Yes, this is a very important question. Sarah, you understand we live in a technology-driven age.
Definitely.
And the COVID-19 pandemic with lockdown and social distancing, these really promoted the use of social media handles.
Of course,
Embassy of Pakistan very effectively and very efficiently use the social media channels. We reached out to our people through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. for the repatriation process, for the COVID-19 SOPs,
yes,
for health messages, for vaccination, and then again to reach out to those who are in humanitarian need at that time. And the local authorities were able to provide them with medical facility as well as food.
Yeah.
I personally used social media channels for appealing the Pakistani community for vaccination, which the government of Bahrain is providing to its citizens and residents free of cost. I still hold Zoom meetings to reach out to my people. Now, of course, things are opening up. There will be more physical interaction in the coming days. Yeah. But some of these practices which we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic, they are going to stay.
Yeah, probably. I mean, what the pandemic did, it pushed us into that technological aspect where it is not a choice anymore. It is an actuation that we have to use the technology in order to get fulfill that. Well, keeping into that subject, from your point of view, what are the main fields that can witness upcoming cooperation between the two countries?
Well, for us, it is important that we really transform this relationship into a mutually beneficial partnership, a win-win for both countries. Absolutely. I can say that businessmen of Bahrain and Pakistan, they can tell us more about the areas which are profitable and attractive. But I see a lot of potential in enhancing trade and investment, energy sector, tourism, then of course food security. May I mention that China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a flagship project of China's Road and Belt Initiative, provide excellent opportunity to Bahraini investors to consider investments, especially in energy sector. Then coming back to tourism, Pakistan is the home of ancient civilizations, sacred religious sites, one of the world's highest mountains and peaks, pristine beaches, and wild deserts, beautiful valleys. I really wish to invite our Bahraini friends, brothers and sisters to visit Pakistan, enjoy Pakistan's scenic beauty, hospitality. And hospitality. Likewise, for Bahraini investors, there are opportunities. They can consider tourism infrastructure projects, like building new hotels, theme parks, and resorts. Food security is a global challenge now. And Pakistan is a very fertile country. I mean, the 4 seasons and the land fertility really provides an opportunity to grow any type of fruit or vegetable or food grain there.
The terrain there helps with this.
And Pakistan is the 4th largest producer of milk and one of the top producers of quality meat and dairy products. So again, Bahraini investors, can join in, building storage facilities, packaging, processing of food, and then transportation to ensure sustainable food supply.
Absolutely, Mr. Ambassador. Well, before we end today's show, I'd really like to know what are the future plans that are prepared by the Embassy of Pakistan in Manama?
Thank you for the question. I will divide my answer into 2 parts.
Please do.
The first one for the community. We are working to provide digitalization as much as possible with regard to consular services. We are trying to offer digital solutions to consular needs of our community here. They visit the embassy every day for their consular work, and we are working on that to provide effective service delivery.
Shorter time
through online solutions.
Perfect.
For our bilateral relations, of course, we will be celebrating the 50 years of diplomatic relations with a renewed commitment to further strengthen these bonds in the coming 50 years and beyond, inshallah.
Inshallah, definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for being with us today and talking to us about this. And we'll see you at the Jubilee, hopefully, and see the new logo. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me on the program. Thank you very much.
And we'd also like to thank you, dear viewers, for watching us, and we'll see you next week in another episode of Consolidating.